Raised about 8 grand for cancer charity, hence having me head shaved. I come back and then went to London, and one of my boxers has won the English cruiserweight titles. Life's very good for Ricky at the minute.
Ricky the Hitman Hatton, 3-time world champion, people's hero, and a true icon of British boxing. Now helping and inspiring others, Ricky's comeback is as powerful as his left hook.
This man on the TV, a couple of years ago, name up in lights in Vegas and winning world titles to just be a drunken mess. The next move would have been down there.
It's commendable the way you bounced back.
The hardest thing is for someone to go and speak to someone. But that's the one thing that saved my life, going speaking to someone. You don't go and speak to someone, you know what I mean?
Welcome to the Bricks to Riches podcast. Today I have a very special guest. This gentleman put Manchester on the world map in the boxing scene. Ricky Hitman Hatton, welcome to the podcast.
Good to see you again, mate.
How you doing?
I'm good and brilliant, keeping really busy. Had a great last 10 days. I've been down to Blackpool for a charity do where I raised about 8 grand for cancer charity, hence having me head shaved. And then I come back and then went to London, and one of my boxers has won the English cruiserweight title. So I've done a little bit for charity. I've given a little bit back, trying to bring the next batch of champions through. So life's very good for Ricky at the minute.
It's good the way you're paying it forward. That's a really good deed that you're helping people grow, helping the charity, helping young boxers. But one thing I can say about Ricky, I've known Ricky for a long time. I met him at American's engagement with 2,000 people. That's the first time I properly spoke to you. Seen you many times in Panacea. Once I saw you at a collection with Ryan Giggs in Knightsbridge after an award ceremony. And you've always been a people's person. You've been a people's champion, and you've been very humble. And I truly believe that's why God's blessed you with success. But Ricky, what I want to ask you is, what made you go into boxing? I saw on one of your previous podcasts, you got bullied at school. Is that what made you go into boxing?
It was really. I got bullied at school. My mum and dad were of the theory of listen, don't if someone's hitting you or someone's picking on you, tell the teacher. Yeah. And I was like, it's all right you saying that, Mum, Dad. I'm getting battered every day though. You know what I mean? So but then that was what I did. I told the teacher, and it got on my nerves. And then one of my mates turned around and said, listen, the boxing club in Hyde down there. He said he boxes for the club there. He said, why don't you go down there? You might be able to have a bit of a spar with him. So I went down, we joined the boxing club, do you know what I mean? And, did a couple of spars with him. First couple of spars, we got the better of me, but then, by the end of it, I was giving him a bit of a tonking, in the end. So, which incidentally, which is ironic, which is boxing for you all over, we became mates then, you know what I mean? So it's, the bully, we ended up becoming mates, and he was the one that got me into boxing in the first place. Yeah. So everything happens for a reason in life, and that was another one of them.
Do you know, when you were boxing him and you went to that gym, I bet you never expected that you would go so far in your career. No,
well, the thing is, there's the Louverlight boxing gym in Hyde, which was run by a guy called Ted Peat, God rest his soul. And I always mentioned Ted Peat, and then I moved to Sale West ABC, which was under Mr. Paul Dunn, God rest his soul also. And that was when no one knew Ricky Hatton. He was Richard Hatton, little Richard Hatton back there. No one knew him and everything like that. And they set me on the right rung. And even though certain people was like Billy Graham's, and rightly so, and your Frank Warrens and your promoters, and people get the pats on the back for what they've done to me, I've still never forgot the people that were there before anyone knew Ricky Hatton. And Ted's, the Louverlight gym was, believe it or not, he's about 500 yards from where we're sat now. Yeah. Just down the road over there, and it's still going. It's called Hyden District Amateur Boxing Club now. And Steve Strong's running it, one of Ted's boxers, doing a great job of it. And it's funny how we're only sitting 500 yards from where it all started, you know what I mean? I feel blessed that I can come to a gym such as this every day, from where I started off, and give a little bit back to I've never moved out of a 5-mile radius since the day I was born. And I've sort of got everything that I always dreamt of is like, a nice car and a nice house, and I have nice holidays and stuff like that. But I still never wanted to move out of the area. Do you know what I mean?
You've been very patriotic to Manchester. That's proven by your support for Manchester City. So you're a true Man City supporter, and when you fought Costa Zoo, who was the most feared fighter of that era, you beat him, and that put you on the map internationally. And then when you went and fought Pacquiao, you fought Mayweather, 25,000 people going to watch you, so you're taking a whole army with you to Vegas That must have felt unbelievable. How did that feel?
It was incredible. You know, I used to, you know, I dream of becoming a world champion, but, you know, to become a world champion is unbelievable. But there's 4 or 5 versions of a world title now, so you can be a world champion, which would have been more than good enough. But, you know, I beat the fella with all the belts. Do you know what I mean? Kostiuszko, and they said it would go down as one of the greatest wins ever in a British boxing ring, and that's where it still stands today. And to do it against such a formidable champion in my hometown of Manchester, 22,000 fans in Manchester Arena at 2 o'clock in the morning, and made such a punching machine like Kostiuszko quit on his stool and say no more, leave me alone in Manchester. That was brilliant, and that because he was such a global boxing figure. That opened the door for me and the gates for me to go to the United States. You know, the first one was in Boston when I won the world welterweight title, and then I went to make my debut in Vegas when I challenged Juan Urango for the IBF light welterweight crown. And you got to imagine what that feeling was like, not just for me, but for me and my friends of Hattersley. And Hyde and Manchester that have seen me growing up, you know, at the Hattersley High School.
All of Manchester, I'm a Mancunian. I was proud to watch you there.
Yeah, and it was, and for me, to see my name up in lights on the strip of Las Vegas, where I've watched for years my heroes, Roberto Duran, Tommy Hearns, Evander Holyfield, Mike Tyson, our Frank Bruno, Nigel Benn, my British heroes, you know, to see my name up in lights there, never mind for me, I think for me, for my family, and for the local community. I've seen me from a young kid, you know, just a local lad done well. I think I sometimes had to pinch myself and say, did that actually happen? That was it really? And it did, and good times.
That's why you're a living legend. You put Manchester, you've always represented Manchester very well. One thing one of the followers and all my viewers asked me to ask you, Ricky, where did you get that name from, Hitman? Ricky Hitman Hatton, because that's a phenomenal name. I hope you copyrighted it, because other boxers could nick it.
I nicked it off Tommy Hearns, actually. But I never... Tommy Hearns was called the Hitman, and he'll always be the main Hitman for me. But my coach, Mr. Ted Peat, he gave me the name the Hitman. And the first day I went to the boxing gym, he said, "Hiya, son." He said, "You know, hiya, Richard." He said, "Listen," he said, "you know, just get used to the surroundings, you know what I mean? And, you know, just, you know, get used to the lads and everyone that's here now, and so you can have a little watch and see how the gym operates and how it works. Just, you know, you just have them punch bags. You do your own thing today. You just want you to get used to the atmosphere." So I'd never boxed before. I'd kickboxed before, but I went on the bag and I'm hitting the bag and I'm knocking lumps out of this bag, nearly taking it off the inches as a little 11-year-old. And he come over and he just said, "Geez, you know, we've got a right little Hitman here." And obviously, you know, the name Hitman Hearns, Hitman Hatton. It just stuck really. And I felt quite cheeky at first, you know, taking the name of Thomas Hearns. God blimey, you know, that wasn't big enough shoes to follow, but I hope I did Thomas proud. That's all I can say.
You became a world champion. That name made you into an international brand. But also, Ricky, the other question is, Joan, when you fought Mayweather, I can remember that fight. I was watching it live. It was late in England. I was watching with American in Bolton. We had a big screen. And when you look back at that fight now, you're a lot more wise, a lot more mature. If you took that fight on again, what would you have done differently?
Again, I'd have suggested another referee, to be honest with you. Probably wasn't the greatest night. When you're fighting Mayweather, who's the best, you know?
Well, the best defence.
Yeah, I think just, I would go as far as say the best of all time. You know, whether you think he's the best character or person of all time, that remains to be seen. But as far as actual boxing and ability and technique and everything like that, he'd probably go down as the greatest of all time. And it's, you know, although I'm moaning about the referee, you know, I don't think he did a good job. I mean, you know, probably the first mistake was letting someone from Las Vegas referee Floyd Mayweather in Vegas, you know. It's like Floyd coming to Manchester and a Mancunian referee and me. I think the same thing would have happened, you know what I mean, to be honest. So I'm not saying I'd have won anyway if I had have had a proper referee, but the minute the referee started refereeing it the way I did, my chance was gone, you know, because Floyd's out the window. So I don't think there's much more I could have done, because the best compliment I can give him is what I've just said, you know, probably go down as the greatest of all time. When I got him on the ropes, do you know what I mean? And my body punches, I could land them on a 5 pence piece, do you know what I mean? That, you know, my accuracy was probably better than my power, I mean, body punches. But Floyd would just go on the ropes and he'd get a block in and he'd get half a pull and half a block and half a block and half a pull, you know, when he'd take the sting out of it. I could never, even when I got a punch in, it was never flush. He always got half a block on it and that. And to do that against me, because, you know, how many times could I just chucked and look for it and put it on the same spot? So, and it's the first time I come back after in the changing room after I fought Floyd. I thought to myself, you know what, that referee probably could have done better, but it's the first time out of all my fights I've sat down and thought, God, he was good.
Better than Pacquiao?
I think he was better than Pacquiao, to be honest with you. I mean, I didn't get much, you know, chance to find out how good Pacquiao was. I mean, it was over in 2 rounds, but I think I was past my sell-by date a little bit then. There was too many miles on the clock, you know. I was always an attacking fighter where, you know, sometimes I'd take 4 to get 1 in, do you know what I mean? I was the opposite to Floyd, who avoided punches. I'd get stuck in body punch, and I think that's why people like my style. But and also the way I was living my life outside the ring, up and down, Ricky Hatton, up and down in weight, up and down in weight, up and down in weight. Sooner or later, your body says to you, you know, listen, you can't, you know, you can do it when you're young, you know, your body, but you know, my body, it's experience of my body, them last couple of fights that I had, whether it was the Lascano fight, the Malignaggi fight was a good performance, but because he didn't have much as the way of power to keep me off him, I think it flattened me a little bit, but I could feel in my own body, you know, don't feel quite the same here. And if you remember, Manny Pacquiao was blasting out everyone at the time, De La Hoya, you know, Cotto, Margarita, all these people that were a lot bigger than me. So
you had fast hands, Pacquiao, didn't you?
So you know, when you but I could tell, because I went 10 rounds with Floyd, I could see firsthand just how good he was, and he was exceptional, to be fair.
Nice. But he lives like a monk, doesn't he? Doesn't drink, doesn't party, constantly trains
all
all the time.
No, that's why he's the best, Manny and Floyd. You know what I mean? Floyd, you know, he always has this thing when he's training, hard work, dedication, and you know, if there's one thing you can pick so much off Floyd Mayweather, style-wise, his defence, his timing, knowing when to let the storm blow itself out, let you blow itself out a little bit, and then knowing when to put his foot on the gas, you know, when, you know, and stuff like that. But I think the best thing that any athlete can take from Floyd Mayweather, in whatever sport you're in, is just how to live the life. You know what
discipline.
I mean? If you're a sports athlete, your body's going to pay your wages, so don't do anything that's going to damage it. It's only a short career as sportsman, to be honest, and I think, you know, I was the opposite to Floyd.
But you live life as well. You live life.
Yeah.
So imagine if you lived like a monk, like Floyd Mayweather, Ricky. I reckon you would have been better than him if you didn't go out partying and drinking.
Yeah, I'd have been better. That goes without saying. But would I have had the fan base that I had? I don't think I would have done, because I think people come and watch me because Ricky Hatton is one of the lads. He's an exciting fighter, body puncher, attacker. He don't care. He goes in the pub, he has a pint, he has a game of darts, he goes and watches City, he has a pint and a pint of the match, you know what I mean?
You're a people's champion.
Yeah, let's go and watch Ricky.
So, Ricky, after you had the fight with Pacquiao, sadly, I was reading up, but then you went on a downward trajectory, and it's very commendable the way you bounced back, because a lot of people don't bounce back. So then you went to alcohol, you went to drugs, you gained weight, and then, first of all, and you were suicidal as well.
Yeah, very much so,
and you said I was going to kill myself, so what made that happen, and then how did you bounce back? This is for everyone listening, because learn from Ricky, who's an experienced person. Why did you feel like that, and how did you bounce back? The hardest part is bouncing back. Some people never bounce back.
Well, I think I always had it from a young age, and a lot of people say, you know, how could you say that? You look confident as a kid growing up. Well, you're bound to be confident when you're winning national titles and you're winning. But I think the first time I got beat was by Floyd Mayweather. It was the first time I got knocked out, so it was very, very hard for me to get my head round off, you know what I mean? And a lot of my functions, my sportsman's dinners, my appearances and that, I knocked them on the head. I didn't want to turn up. I was embarrassed.
Because of the defeat?
Yeah, and I was walking down the street, you know, in my hometown, and I was thinking people were laughing at me, and they wasn't, you know. Locally, the people couldn't have been prouder than me. But, you know, I'm walking down the street, I'm thinking, I don't want to leave the house here. People are laughing at me, it's embarrassing. And it was a while for me to get that. And then when I got my head around the fact that, no, Ricky, come on, it's nothing to do with that, anything like that. Everyone's proud of you. I was thinking of packing the game in, but then I gave it another go, and I went to the City of Manchester Stadium. 60,000 fans at the City of Manchester Stadium. It was brilliant. So my head was down. My head fell off after the Mayweather fight. But then when I boxed at the Etihad Stadium, confidence was back up. But then I fell out with Billy Graham. He was my trainer, you know, and lifelong friend, lifelong trainer and friend. I fell out with Billy Graham, so that was disappointing for me. So my head fell off again, you know, I was disappointed. And then I boxed Paulie Malignaggi in Las Vegas, where Nolan Liam Gallagher carried the belts in for me, you know, which are heroes of mine. That was always a bucket list one. I wanted to support Man City, win a world title, and listen to Oasis. And for them to carry the belts in, you know, so, and I wouldn't stop Malignaggi, became the first man to do it. So I'm back on top of the world again, you know, and then, you know, I fought Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao destroyed me in 2 rounds, which consequently meant I had to retire then. No more boxing, Ricky. You've got to hang the gloves up. You're finished now, son, out of that. And then shortly after that, my relationship fell apart, and I fell out with my mum and dad. So, you know, I'd gone from getting beat by Mayweather, head down, and then boxing at City and back up. Then I fell out with Billy Graham, my head's down. Then I boxed, you know, Nolan Liam carried the belts in, and then I got beat by Pacquiao, and then I had to retire. Fell out with mum and dad. And then it was like rock bottom. And I was sat in my house, and I sat on the settee one day and I was thinking to myself, well, I haven't got boxing anymore, I haven't got a missus anymore, I haven't got mum and dad anymore, I haven't got Billy Graham anymore, and I haven't got boxing anymore. What am I doing here now? What am I doing here? What have I got to live for anymore? I've got no one to celebrate it with. I'm here on my own, you know, anything like that. So I wanted to kill myself, you know, tried to several times. It was horrific. And
very sad.
I never wanted to tell my family, because I didn't want to worry them. I didn't want to tell me mates. I've got good mates, but I can't sort of like walk in the pub in my local and go, listen, lads, I'm crying every day. I want to slip my wrist. What do you think I can do? You know what I mean? It's just something you don't do. You know, so I didn't want to worry anyone. So I don't think people knew quite how bad it actually was. Do you know what I mean? Because I shielded it from everyone. But it's horrific. So many times I used to sit in the house in the dark with a knife and just want to kill myself. And then I couldn't do it. I didn't have the balls to do it, as they say, and I thought to myself, well, if you've not got the bottle to kill yourself, you know, I thought I'll drink and drug myself to death, and then consequently stories were in the paper and this, that, and all the rest of it, and it was a real horrific time for me. And I think I speak for my friends and, well, certainly my family, you know, when they realised what was going on, for my family, my friends, and just Hyde, Hattersley, my local community. To just see this man on the TV, you know, a couple of years ago, you know, name up in lights in Vegas and winning world titles, to just be a drunken mess. You know what I mean? It was a tough time.
So then, what stopped you from getting pissed all the time, taking drugs? What made you see the light?
At first, my first baby girl came along, Millie. And I thought to myself, this is what's going to get me back on track. Do you know what I mean? You know, it's not about, I had Campbell, you know, my son. But I thought, you know, another baby girl, I thought, it's about my kids here now. You know, stop being selfish. Come on, get yourself together. You know, this is going to be the turning point. And it wasn't. And I thought to myself, Rick, you need help here. If, you know, having a little baby girl still can't do it for you. You can't do this on your own. So I went into Manchester. I had a meeting with this gentleman, and I knocked on his door, and he opened the door, and he went, "Hiya, Ricky, great to see you." And he put his hand down. I just fell on my knees, put my arms around his legs, and I went, "Listen, if you don't tell me what I need to do, I won't be here tomorrow." I said, "I'm lost. I'm lost of what to do. I won't be here next week. If you don't tell me what to do now, I won't be here." And bit by bit, he sat me down, and we got talking, and, you know, got myself in a little routine. Then I went the following day, and then the following day, and then it slowly got to once a week, you know, and then like once a fortnight, then a couple of times a month, and, you know, and then I got my own routine. And I think it's, I needed a break off the beer as well. I needed a break off the beer then, because, I mean, you know, and that's what he said to me. He said, you can't, you know, while you're at the bottom of a pint pot, you can't make any rational decisions, you know what I mean? You know, so, you know, listen, have a stint where you're sober. And so and you'll see things brighter. You know, you see everything will look clear in the brighter day. Well, at the minute, you're hungover every bleeding day. You feel depressed because you're hungover, and everything. Like, you know, you're not going to get it back on track until you start that. And that was the start of it, basically. But I mean, to cut a long story short, the best thing was, and the thing is with mental health, the hardest thing is for someone to go and speak to someone. But that's the one thing that saved my life, going and speaking to someone.
That's a brave move. That's a brave move by you, Ricky, to go and take professional help.
And if I'd carried on the way I was going, because it wasn't working, the next move would have been for me down there.
So it's commendable the way you bounce back, and now you're helping young boxers, you're doing charity work, so continue on that journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think I look back now, I think if it had took me life, you know, I wouldn't have seen Campbell go professional.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have seen my granddaughter, Lila.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have seen Millie and Fern grow up into the two lovely ladies they're growing into now. I wouldn't have done, I had a documentary not so long ago that was Hatton, that was up for a BAFTA. I did an exhibition at 44 years of age against Marco Antonio Barrera at the Manchester Arena. I thought I'd never hear the crowd roar again, but I was able to do an exhibition. And look at all I've made up with me mum and dad, you know what I mean? You know, still a little bit is like that, but they're still my mum and dad. And I still speak to them, you know, now, which it took a long time to get there, which is great. I speak to Billy Graham, and look what I'd have missed out on. And that's what that's what you're going to miss out from if you don't go and speak to someone. You know what I mean?
So always make up, clear your differences, and stay on your journey. That's a message for people.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Now also, Ricky, your son Campbell, he's a professional fighter. You just touched on him. What do you think of nepotism and boxing? For example, your son, he's got a big keep to go after his father's footsteps. Like Adam, Prince Nassim's son, I met him the other day for a meal in Sexy Fish. He's got a big keep to go after Prince Nassim. I don't, for example, the other week, Conor Ben, Chris Eubank, they can't be the fathers. What do you think of nepotism and boxing?
I think it's the same. I think it's commendable when you got people, you know, like Naz's lad and my lad and Nigel Ben's lad, you know, Chris Eubank Jr.'s lad, you know. It's commendable that they're giving it a go, to be honest with you. I think I speak for all of us. I don't think... I think
well, the big shoes to fill, aren't they? Like what you did,
I think we
Naz
speak
did.
for all of them. I think we'd prefer them not to have a go. Because we did it so they don't have to. But, you know, the fact that they have given it a go, you know, is commendable. And, you know, I mean, you know, some might get there, some might not get there. I mean, you know, but I mean, the main thing is that they're giving the go. And I think the thing is with boxing, whether they don't do it, whether they do it or they don't do it. I mean, let's say I think Campbell has lost his last couple of fights against the same man. He's having a little bit of a break at the time and that. But I think the fact that he's had a go at boxing, you know, I mean, will stand him in good stead for whatever he does in the future. You know, if he has another fight, he doesn't have another fight, it will stand him in good stead in the future because boxing is that type of sport. You know what I mean? And he's give it a go, and he should be, you know, he should be very, very proud. But I think it's important that, you know, that your kids just, you know, they don't try and beat your dad. Just try and take the next day and the next fight, and the next journey in your life, whatever that may be. Just try your best and give it. You know, if you're always trying to beat him or beat them or beat them, you just got to, you know, give it your best. And if you get there, you get there. You don't get there. And at the end of the day, all we can all do in life, you know, is look in the mirror and whatever we do and say, did we give it our best? That's good enough for me. And if you give it your best, you can't ask for no more of yourself.
Totally agree. But do you like your era, Ricky, Naz's or Eubank or Ben's? They're a lot more hungry. The Nepo babies aren't as hungry as the fathers, are they? They had more desire to succeed.
Yeah, I suppose so. You know, I mean, it's social media now and that, you know, so as if it's not hard enough to go and say Campbell's shoulders or Naz's shoulders or Connor's shoulders, and as if that isn't hard enough, you've got the pressure of social media now where everyone's got an opinion and everyone's got a fact and everyone's got a thing like that.
Everyone likes to compare.
It wasn't like back in the day. It was hard, and it would have been hard enough back in the day for, you know, if you're trying to emulate your dad. Anyway, but now with social media and the expectation and, you know, it's absolutely, they've got an hard job. So, I mean, I think I speak for all the parents and say, listen, whatever you do in life, boxing, your job, or whatever you do, all I expect is you give it 100%.
And that's with anything in life, whether you're studying, whether you're playing cricket, football, anything.
Anything. I expect the best from you. And it might not be boxing in the end, but I still want your best.
Good, I like it. Now, also, Ricky, you trained a couple of Asian fighters in your gym. In your era, there was not many Asian fighters. There's only Prince Naz, and then Amir Khan came after. Since then, you've got Adam Azim, you've got Hamza Shiraz. What do you think led to all these Asian fighters coming into boxing? Do you think Naz led the way, or was it?
I think Naz led the way, and then as Naz, there was a bit of a gap between Naz and Amir. But I think at the end I think Naz set the ball rolling, and then needless to say what Amir did in the Olympic Games before
17,
before he went professional. And I remember going when when he fought in Bolton against the guy who fought in the Olympics, didn't he?
Yeah,
he fought him at Bolton. He went to
that guy from Cuba or
Cuba,
somewhere.
yeah. And that was like that. He'd not even had his pro debut, and sold out things and everything like that. So
Frank Warren came on the video call, remember?
Yeah, so he did. So the popularity, you know what I mean? And to be honest with you, I appeared on a lot of Nassim Ahmed's undercards when I was coming up. You know, my second professional fighter boxed at Madison Square Garden when Nas boxed Kevin Kelly.
Yeah.
And then I boxed at Atlantic City when Nas boxed Wayne McCulloch. So I think Nas made it more and more popular. And then just as Nas was coming to an end, Amir was just starting again a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it snowballed, and now it's dead popular. I train
20 years ago, there's no Asians in it. Now every
I
Asian
train an Asian kid. He's very, very good. Ibrahim Nadeem. He's from Keighley.
Yeah.
He's the Central Area super featherweight champion. He's the mandatory for the English in his next fight, and you know that's now it's just so popular in the Asian community, and it's a simple case of anyone.
But 20 years ago, it wasn't. 20 years ago, no Asian would have done boxing.
Yeah, well, it's like if anyone say if Naz can do it, if Amir can do it, I can do it, and if it's like anyone from Manchester says to me, you know what I mean, from the council estates, I don't know, I'd love to be a world champion, but I don't know. Well, there's a little fat kid down the road there called Ricky Hatton who ended up doing it. So don't think you can't do it, and that's what I say to everyone when I go seeing them at the local shows and this, and they're only starting at the smallest rung of the ladder. I said, you believe in yourself. Reach for the stars. If you say, and you reach for here, you're never going to get there.
Exactly.
But if you reach for there, you're going to get somewhere near.
Exactly. Just keep focused, stay determined.
Yeah.
One other question, Ricky, one of your followers asked me to ask you. You went to Mexico with the Gallagher, Noel and Liam Gallagher. You went there. Tell me some stories about that. Because all you guys are Manchester legends, the Gallaghers and Hattons are Manchester legends in Mexico. Tell us a story about what chaos did you cause?
Oh, well, we got there. We flew from Las Vegas when I boxed Malignaggi, and there's so many stories I can tell. There's so many stories I can't tell. But we went, and it was in Mexico City. We flew from Las Vegas when I boxed Malignaggi, went to Mexico City. We're in this arena, and these 40,000 Mexican fans there. You think Oasis from Manchester, 40,000 Mexicans. Oh, unreal. But Noel and Liam said, "All right, champ, yeah, no problem. Where's our seats?" They went, "There on the stage, here." And they're just coming out the curtain, and our table was there as they come out the curtain. So I was there, and there was loads of ice boxes, and there was bottles of lager, cans of Guinness, you know what I mean, and everything like that. And we sat on the stage there, and he did like a couple of songs, Liam and Noel there, and it's bouncing. And he got me up on the stage. He said, "Hey, let me introduce you to my mate Ricky the Hitman Hatton." So the old Mexican, "Oh, hey!" And he went, "My mate Ricky." They all went, "Hey!" He said, "I thought so. He's not fuck out of a few you little fuckers in his time." And I went like they all went, "Ooh." I went off, "Oh, get me off here, you're going to get us killed." But I mean, if I thought hard enough, there's so many stories like that. They were my heroes growing up. I actually met them in New York. When I was over, I went watching, I boxed Damon McGee, and then I was going over to Vegas to watch, it was Atlantic City to watch Floyd Mayweather and Arturo Gatti. And we stopped off before Atlantic City. We stopped off on the way at New York, went to this Irish bar, and that's when I met them for the first time when I was 22 years of age, Noel and Liam. They were just there in the back with two bucket hats on, and I went, "I'm sure that's Noel and Liam." They both went, and Liam went, "Come over here," and that's how we met. But great times, do you know what I mean? And I feel grateful for everything that I've achieved and everything that I've got, and what my family and my kids have got, and the life I can give them. I know I worked hard for them, but there's a lot of people put themselves out for me in order to get me there, and that's why I try and give a little bit back, whether it's in the boxing gym trying to bring the next champions through and hopefully bring a fighter through, a kid through, that will make the country as proud as I did.
Have you got any potential fighters you've got?
Yeah, I mean, got Ibby, that's in here, Jack Murphy, my other lad, John Edges has just won the cruiserweight title over there, so I'm trying to bring the next batch through. I'm an ambassador for mental health, which I do motivational speaking, talking about mental health, and I bang the drum and that, so I'm trying to use my faults, not just what I learned in the boxing, to pass it on to the next generation. I'm trying to use my faults as a positive. So, because if there's anybody out there that's been on the bottom rung of the ladder where I was, I want to help them as well. I don't just want to bring the new batch of champions through. I want to help you. I want to try and save a few lives if I can. And
like
if that works, you know, by just if one person just takes it on board because it worked for me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I don't want to sound like Mr. Perfect and that, but that's what my life is
It's
now.
good to see that you're selfless, Ricky. Help people.
Yeah, and I think the one thing we should be proud of as Brits.
Because we're a lot smaller than America.
Yeah, as Brits, whether it be, you know, as a boxing trainer or as a boxing fighter, when you look at the trainers and the fighters we've got in Brits, the United States is that big.
Yeah.
And this is not being patronising to them, and we're that big in comparison. Do you know what I mean? And when you look at the fighters we bring through, and the trainers that we bring through, and it's
the game of numbers, we're a lot smaller.
We deserve a proper pat on our back. You know, because I mean, you know, we do. We've had some great fighters over the years. You know, such as Amir Khan, such as myself, and the fighters that are coming through that are going to hopefully. You know, not everyone will go into training like I do, but if you know, someone, I imagine having Amir Khan if you train as you train. Imagine the knowledge that Amir can pass on, you know, to the next generation going through. He might not do, but I know there, you know, even not just the fighters in the gym. I go to boxing shows all over the amateur and pro shows and this and everything. And I love it when people come up and talk to me and ask me my opinion. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? You know, just this weekend there was at a boxing show where my fighter John Edges won the English title, but the top of the bill was Johnny Fisher and Dave Allen. And Dave Allen, you know, won Johnny Fisher by a knockout.
That's great. And great story, because that guy was on the piss on gambling and everything. He won. Amazing.
And then when I come downstairs, Johnny Fisher was just checking out the hotel, and Johnny said to me, "Hiya, Johnny. Okay, keep your chin up. You'll be back." And I give him like a little bit of advice. You know, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. You know, maybe next time, you know, try this and try that. And when, you know, you see people at the top of the bill, like Johnny Fisher, you know, just stood there listening on every word I'm saying of advice that I can pass on to him, makes you feel very, very proud. And I think, you know, I'm here and you know, Tyson Fury and people like that, Nassim Ahmed, won't believe how many people they pass on to knowledge every day, because every day someone asks you. And it's nice to turn around and go, well, this, and this, and it's what it's all about, because a lot of people helped me along the way. I used to go to boxing shows, amateur boxing shows, and Nigel Benn would be there, and Frank Bruno, and I used to go, oh, Nigel, what can you do? What? Oh, yeah, do that. I'm only doing the same. That's our job.
Pass on to the next generation.
Of course it is.
But also, Ricky, dealing with your era of boxing, there was AI, artificial intelligence now, like when you fought Mayweather, or let's use a closer example, Usyk, Daniel Dubois. The last fight, Usyk claimed he hit him below the belt. When you watch the replay, he didn't, in my opinion. So when do you think AI will come into boxing? Because that'll be more honest and fair. It's like in cricket, when you run out, if you're not sure, you go to the screen.
VAR, like a VAR thing,
so really, that should be applied in boxing, so there's no cheating going on.
I suppose so, but you know, when you think about the low blow, it's very, very hard, you know, to, you know, because I mean, Usyk said, oh, it wasn't low, and it wasn't low, but you know, the protector, you know, probably goes round the band goes round the belly button, and the cup goes round in that area. So even though if you hit the protector on the waistband that goes that way, the cup could go that way, which constantly your knackers are getting caught in it. So even though your testicles are down there, but the punch is landing there, if you think about it, as that nudge, so it makes it. So I don't know. It wasn't a low blow, but I've no doubt it probably hurt him, because that's what sometimes it do. Sometimes, you know, if you get caught there, because it will push the protector in a certain way that you can get caught in it, it's sometimes worse than having a full-blown one right in the middle. Do you know what I mean? It's so... but it depends what the referee said. Sometimes you hear the referee say to them ever go, "Aye, corner, if this lands here, it's good." Yeah. And sometimes they don't. So I don't know what the referee actually said before, because if you land on the waistband, because sometimes some people have the shorts a little bit higher than that, and the referee normally goes, if
Tyson Fury puts his on his tits.
If it lands here, it's good. So I don't know what the referee actually said in that. So I do see it wasn't a low blow. Yeah. But I do appreciate that it might still hurt Usyk. I don't think he was putting anything on. No. Because sometimes.
So you think that was a fair decision?
Yeah. Depends if it's a low, because I mean it's a low blow. You know, it can be a difference between a point off or a point not off, can't it? Which can be in a fight at that highest level. 1 point can be the difference between winning or losing.
Exactly.
So it is important, and I think they need to probably get the actual rules a bit more clarified beforehand.
I think AI will make a big difference to it.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. Yeah.
And also, Ricky, the other question I want to ask you, you've got one housing estate named after you, Hatton Court. That must be a phenomenal feeling if you go for a jog past it. That's your legacy to show your grandchildren. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's brilliant, to be honest with you. You know, I'm very, very proud of coming from Hattersley. I was always billed as Manchester, but and I guess I always will be Manchester, but I always see myself as a Hattersley lad.
Because I'll be there for years.
Yeah, I was born on Hattersley. You know, my mum and dad were born on Hattersley. All my best mates are from Hattersley. You know what I mean? And still only 5-10 minutes from Hattersley. You know now, and yeah, I'm very, very proud of what I've done on Hattersley. Hattersley has had a few things over the years that's not a lot of things that to be proud of. You remember a few years ago there was the Moors murderers, Mara Hinley and Ian Brady. And then a few years ago, there was them poor police ladies that got shot on the estate, you know, which was, and then down the road from here where we're sat, we've got Harold Shipman and that. So I mean, like most council estates, not sometimes not good things come from the area, but I still consider myself a Hattersley lad, and hopefully, you know, people might mention this area now. They might mention Ricky Hatton instead of them. Them lot that, you know, brought a bit of bad to the area, but
that's a legacy.
I think some of the nicest people you would ever meet are in council estates, and sometimes it gets a bad rep, but not for me. I'll always be Hattersley born and bred.
You're a people's champion for a reason. Now, City, you're a strong City supporter, Ricky. What do you think of Manchester City right now and the financial charges? There's a lot going on with Manchester City.
I don't know, to be honest with you. The friends that I speak inside the club aren't worried. I said, well, us for City fans aren't worried, but I appreciate if you're from inside the club, you must know better than us. So that makes me feel a little bit. That makes me feel a little bit better. But
you've been very loyal to City all your life.
Yeah,
and that's because of that. That's why you got so many supporters. And other boxers are trying to copy suit, support their football club to get their fan base.
Yeah, you know, but I had my first season ticket when I was 12 years of age. You know, I've always been a Man City fan, to be honest with you, and I go to the match every week, and there's you know, players there like Paul Lake and David White and Paul Dickoff, and you know, and they were like my heroes. They're mates of mine now, but they're my heroes when I was coming up, and we wasn't the best at the time, as I'm sure they'll forgive me for. They'll agree with me and forgive me for saying, but they'll all still be my heroes. And the fact that I see them week in, week out now, and they come up to me, "Oh, hi, Ricky, how you doing?" That's another thing I can't comprehend and get me head round. But yeah, I've always had a lot of support from Manchester City. But I have to say this, to be honest with you, you know, football will always be football. You know, if we can't have a little bit of banter with the Reds down the road, you know, and about football, and about this and about that, you know, and unfortunately, you know, United are where City were a few years ago. In fact, they're not quite as bad as where City were a few years ago. But, you know, all it is banter. And I've always said, you know, Manchester City fans supported me, you know, through the, right from the start. But you know what? So did Man United fans, to be honest. And a lot of them probably won't want to admit it. But, you know, I always used to say, I never used to say the blue part of Manchester. I always used to say Manchester. And that means Manchester, full stop. You know what I mean? And I've got support from Man City fans. That goes without saying. A lot of Manchester United fans support me as well. And whether you're a red, whether you're a blue, I hope I did Manchester proud. And hopefully there'll be another one coming through.
What do you think of YouTubers and boxing? They've changed the whole dynamic of boxing because YouTubers are just in it for the money. The skill set's not the same, like Jake Paul, for example.
Well, I think the two can exist. I think they call it misfits now, and I'm not judging anybody.
Danny Simpson's a friend of mine. He's doing the.
I'm not judging anyone in the misfits, but you know, Danny Simpson to go from footballer into boxing from one profession is commendable, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, and there's the other guy who won the British title. He was from Yorkshire, wasn't he? Oh, I'm so sorry, forgot his name anyway. But yeah, so listen, you've got to commend people for do that. I mean, they might not, you know, fight for world titles or something like that. So I think they both can exist. You've got, Turkey Sheikh now who's making the best fight the best. You know what I mean? All the champions, all the belt holders, all have to fight each other now. You can't duck and dive anyone anymore. You know,
But that's
Turkey
all the money.
shakes
That's all about money, though. Turkey shakes about money.
Turkey shakes making that happen. But you know, I mean, as long as you know you got Jake Paul. Jake Paul can still do his fights. You know what I mean? But I mean,
KSI, Jake Paul.
Yeah, Jake Paul. You know, he can't fight 58-year-old Mike Tyson and then say you want to fight Canelo Alvarez.
Exactly.
Come on, man. Yeah. You just stick to your thing and let them stick to their thing, and just keep it real, as they say. Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, and I don't, you know, no judgment to anyone do that. They can do their thing and they can do their thing, and we're all in the entertainment business and that. But you know, let's know your limits. I think that's what and I think that's what the majority of them do. Jake Paul's a very good businessman. He's very, very talented in what he does and that. And at the end of the day, don't forget, he's going into the hardest game of all when it's out of his comfort zone. It's not his profession. So you've got to give him a little bit of credit, but let's just say, you can live in your world, and the boxing world can live in their world.
But these YouTubers got no chance against a real boxer. Even now, Ricky, you could batter Jake Paul in the first round.
I won't get that. He's a bit bigger than me. Well,
a few months of training.
Maybe not at the minute, but but no, it's very hard for me to, because anyone who gets in that boxing ring, whether you spar or whether you box at a lower level or whether you box at the higher level, you deserve, to get the ball. There's so many out there that won't never do it. So I'm not calling anyone that's on that misfit level. I just think, you've got to know your levels.
Of course.
And both can exist.
One last question, Ricky, because we're pushed for time. One of your friends asked me to ask you that you're scared of cats. Why so scared? Because when I used to see in Panacea on Saturday nights, you're running after the pussy.
No, I got I know who that is, and I told him not to say anything, but no, when I was a kid, I was 2 years old, and I used to live in Hayfield, which is just down the road, and we had a cat. We had a neighbour called Paddy. I think she was called Paddy. Anyway, she had a cat. I went next door playing, with a cat, and I'm playing with the cat. And the next day, it scratched me right down my face. Luckily, it didn't, touch my eyeball or anything like that. But it scared, as you can imagine, a 2-year-old. Scared the life out of me, and I never got over it, to be honest. So every time, a cat comes across my path, thankfully there's not as many stray ones now, isn't there? Remember back in the day, there used to be dogs all over the show, and cats all over the show. They're not that stray as many times. They sometimes are in Tenerife, but sometimes they come. I'll be having a pint in Tenerife, sat outside somewhere, and something will come brushing past my leg. I'll be like, oh shit! You just send me like 6 foot in the air, But I just...
For a hard guy like you to be scared of pussycats.
I know, but... I remember, but every time I go in this bar, I've got to be careful. There's a singer in the bar one time, and everyone knew in the bar that I'm scared of cats. And it was a bar in particular where they sneak in every now and again. And the singer was on one afternoon when I was in Tenerife. He's going behind me, he's singing, like that, and he comes past me, and I'm talking, so I missed him. And next minute, he goes behind and just tickles me on the back of the leg. I'm like, whoa! I'm nearly up on the chairs and on the tables. So it's sort of like, you're not the only one to know now. It's sort of common knowledge now.
Everybody will know now.
So you see me in Tenerife, don't go tickling me legs,
Unless she's good looking. Well, Ricky, thank you so much for your time. I know we're pressed for time.
Pleasure, mate.
It's
No
great
problem.
to have you as a guest. You're very humble, very down to earth, and a true people's champion. So it's great to have you, my friend. Wishing you all the best.